come to this event. I'll preface by saying I'm a little bit under the weather, so if I'm coughing, sorry about that. I've also on my doctor's orders, I've drank a lot of water before coming here, so I might also need to excuse myself in a little bit. Okay? All right. So, let's get started. Hello? Okay. So why don't we get started like we did yesterday with some meditation. Okay? And again, just so I know, how many of you weren't here yesterday? We're not here. Okay, great. So yesterday we went over a meditation called mindfulness of the breath meditation, or anapanasati, which is a very good meditation, and it says it's the best for kind of calming the discursive thoughts. Like we have a soundtrack going in the background of our experience, constantly commenting and chattering. Yes, in certain contexts, it's been dubbed the monkey mind. So just like a monkey on a tree, it jumps from branch to branch. So too, the uncontrolled mind will jump from object to object, right? Causing a lot of disturbance and So this meditation on mindfulness of the breath. So every meditation that we do has an object, okay? And we're going to get into this in a little bit, but of all the types of meditation, we can also categorize them into two main types. There's what we call a placement meditation and an analytic meditation, okay? So placement meditation, the mindfulness of the breath meditation is a placement meditation. And it's called that because we take our mind, we place it on one object, and then try to maintain awareness of that object without letting it waver or get distracted to another. So, and then analytic meditation, we use the mental faculty of analysis to arrive at a certain conclusion. So most people, when they think of meditation, it's the first type, the placement meditation, that we seem to be more associating with what the meaning of meditation is, right? You kind of, sit there, try to remain concentrated, right? So it's good, and there's a place for that. But you see, as we were talking about yesterday, what we're trying to do with our Dharma practice in general is to cultivate positive habits and unwind or decrease negative habits, right? So, just as an example, in this mindfulness of breath meditation, what we're doing is we're working with the natural breath as it is, right? As opposed to some pranayama techniques where we try to breathe in and out of one nostril, we try to hold the breath for a certain number of counts, like this, right? So that's our the word, contrived, right? Remember we were talking about contrived? Yes, yesterday, right? So this we're kind of manufacturing a type of breath, right? It's not natural, but we bring our own volition to say, okay, I'm going to now breathe in for 10 counts, right? But with this mindfulness of breath meditation, we're working with a natural breath as it is. You understand? So when we meditate on the breath, you see, normally our discursive thoughts, they're either going to plans or worries in the future, or regrets and kind of replaying events in the past, right? But you see, the breath, when we say we're meditating on the breath, we're actually meditating on the sensations in the body as we breathe in and out, right? So yesterday what we were doing, as the abdomen rises, we hone our attention on the rising and falling of the abdomen. So this sensation, right? All sensations are only in the present moment, right? We don't feel anything in the future, all we have is the current moment of experience, right? So if we can connect with the sensations in the body as we breathe in and out, we're connecting with the present moment. When we connect with the present moment, then the worries and fears about the future, or the planning, whatever it is, and the replay of events in the past also fall away. Okay? So, it's very good, this type of meditation. But, especially here in the Tibetan tradition, then this type of analytic meditation is also very much emphasized. Yeah. So why? Because, you see, in our current state of mind, we have, our negative habits of mind, like getting angry, irritated, having attachment, desire, greed. Those are very strong. Those can arise very easily in the mind. Whereas something like a positive thought, like love, the real kind of love, not what you see in the movies, that is actually more difficult because we don't have familiarity with that, right? So we use analytic meditation to train the mind to think in a certain way and arrive at a certain conclusion, Like, for example, if we are meditating on love, right? Again, not the movie one. Loving kindness or metta actually is the wish that others be happy, right? So, just as an example, we would then think about, the various ways that living beings are, not happy. We'll think about all the reasons why, it would be good, it would actually be wonderful if all beings were happy, and then we gradually cultivate a wish, thinking, may they be happy, right? And so we use reasoning, analysis, to arrive at a certain conclusion, in this case, may all beings be happy. And then we then switch from the analytic meditation to a placement meditation. So we then will place our mind on the conclusion, may all beings be happy. You understand? And then this way of meditation will then, develop these positive habits of mind, right? And every time we go through that process of reasoning, we arrive at a certain conclusion, then it gets easier and easier. Okay. So, more on that later. But for now, we'll just go back to the placement meditation on the breath. Okay? Just for 5 minutes. So, please get into a good meditation posture. Most important thing is to have a straight back. Means not slouched over. Okay? So, a bit natural. And then, as we mentioned yesterday, you can have your hands in a number of positions. This one is okay for you yogis and yoginis. This is also okay. And then what you'll see often is the Dharani Mudra, the left hand down in the lap and the right hand on top of it. So make sure that your body is straight and centered. So you can think of dropping a coin from your nose and it should hit your navel, your belly button. Make sure that your shoulders are not hunched over so you can roll them up and back, opening up the chest. Slightly tuck the chin into your neck, just like that, which will elongate the back of the neck. And by the way, if you normally wear glasses or spectacles, you can take them off for the purpose of this meditation. And then have the mouth closed, but the teeth in a natural position, not clenched. Put the tongue on the roof of the mouth and gently, just very gently, create some suction so that the excess air and space is no longer there in the mouth. Then we gradually scan the body from head to toe, trying to identify any places where there is tension. So particularly in the facial muscles, around the eyes, around the lips and so forth. Just bring your mind's attention there and then release any tension. Then if you notice that a place is carrying more tension, that doesn't immediately go away by bringing your mind's attention there, then you can think that you breathe into that area. For example, many of us have problems with, the shoulders. So you can imagine that you breathe into your, the trapezius muscle, and then as you exhale, all the tension there is released with the breath. And then we will continue to work our way down all the way to the toes and release any tension. And then as we have scanned the body, then we will focus on our main object for this meditation, the breath. And here again, we'll use the rising and falling of the abdomen as the place where we watch the breath. So again, we can use the counting. We can count the exhalations. Giving our mind a small task like that helps it not get distracted. And then most important, try to keep your mind's awareness on the breath itself and not get caught up in the other appearances to the mind, be they external, like sounds, or internal, like various thoughts that come. If they do come, don't engage, although you can notice that they're there. But just like a drawing on the surface of a lake, the very next second, then that drawing dissolves back into the lake. So too, these other appearances of the mind are impermanent in nature. So when we don't engage, when we don't add mental energy to them, they too will dissolve back into the nature of the mind. So we'll do this for just 4 more minutes. So now, gently come out of the meditation and bring your awareness back to the room. Okay, so our newcomers, or even the people who also came yesterday, you know what we're doing with this meditation? You have all the instructions? You know how to do? Okay. Okay. What's that?
Maybe just which meditation.
Oh, this one we just did. This one we just did. The breathing meditation. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. That is something that I hope by now you all know the instructions, so you can have a daily practice with that. And even just 4 minutes, 5 minutes is good, you know. Start slow, and then gradually you can increase the duration of your sessions. Okay? All right. So now, the entree is over. Now is the main course. Okay? So, as we mentioned yesterday, we're going through this text, a very precious text, the 37 Practices of Bodhisattvas. Okay? And yesterday we talked about, well, what Dharma is, the need to practice Dharma, and then what the particular Mahayana Dharma is, which this text belongs to. Okay? So, Dharma, in general, is the methods by which we transform our mind from the current state of, confusion, suffering, being in an unsubdued, uncontrolled way, and then we transform into, whereas before there was ignorance, then we develop wisdom. Before there was, selfishness, self-grasping, self-cherishing, then we develop loving kindness and compassion to eventually all living beings, right? So that's Dharma. And then why we need to practice Dharma is, well, we were saying yesterday that our experience in life is very dependent on our own minds. And we were saying that the first step into entering the path of Dharma is to go from, blaming or attributing our experiences of happiness and suffering from, first we do 100% it's the outside world what happens to us, and then gradually we see, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's not that way, but actually my mind is the primary determiner of my experience. And with insight to that, then we try to transform then the mind, because if our mind gets changed, then our experience gets changed. And, we can then come to develop a lasting, stable type of peace and well-being that isn't dependent on external objects, external factors, but is able to remain peaceful and calm, regardless of what external things happen to us. Sounds good? All right. So yeah, that's the Dharma and the need to practice Dharma. And then we also were saying that, just like we want happiness and don't want suffering, all other living beings are just like that. And so even from the beginning, we think that this development, internal development of our own mind, isn't merely for gaining some benefit for ourselves, but rather as we develop on the path, we'll be in a better position to help others also transform their minds in greater and more profound ways. And then, we were talking about then, the Mahayana Dharma. And so the Mahayana Dharma, or the great vehicle, then is, a vehicle takes someone from their current location to a certain destination. So here, the Mahayana, the motivation is to attain the highest development of our potential, which is enlightenment, right? Enlightenment, which we mentioned, is the complete pacification and abandonment of all faults of mind and the complete development of all good qualities. And it is a state that each and every one of us, actually everyone with a mind, can attain. And why? Why is that? Well, the faults of the mind aren't intrinsically or inherently part of the mind. Okay, this is the so-called proof of Buddha nature, or the potential that we all have to attain enlightenment. So, if one has the analogy they use is a cup of dirty water, yeah? Well, we say, oh, it's dirty water, right? But actually, the presence of dirt in the water doesn't change the nature of the water being, pure, clean, and clear, right? How do we know this? Because through a process of, filtration and purification, we can remove all the impurities, leaving a pure, clean, clear glass of water, right? So if somehow the presence of the dirt or the pollutants in the water somehow change the nature of the water, then even if you remove the pollutants, then the underlying water would have been different, would have changed, and there'd be no way to get a pure glass of water again. Huh?
I just said a gecko. Sorry.
Okay. Okay? You understand? All right. So, okay. So that's Buddha nature, the potential that all living beings, even that gecko, has for the attainment of enlightenment. Okay? So then, why then do we need to become enlightened? Because although we might have compassion that wishes all beings to be free from suffering, okay, we can't just leave it at a mere wish. Oh, I wish all sentient beings were, free from suffering, right? Because what does that do, really, right? We have to go one step further and say, actually, it's up to me. It's up to me to free all beings from their suffering. But we see in our current situation when we have faults of the mind, when we have our own problems and suffering, then we can offer only very limited benefit to others. But we see then that if we were to develop our minds to the highest potential and purify all faults and develop all good qualities, then we could benefit others the best way possible. Okay? So that's why we need to do. Okay? So then we have here the text, the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas. Okay? So we were saying a Bodhisattva, Bodhi is enlightenment, Sattva is being. Okay? So a Bodhisattva is the person who is not yet enlightened, but has generated this mind of bodhicitta. The bodhicitta is this altruistic intention to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And they have that in a very spontaneous, naturally occurring, uncontrived way arising. So, then we're saying, as great as that mind is, then as great as that wish is, that in itself is not enough. But even the attainment of enlightenment is a causative phenomena. It arises due to causes and conditions. And so if you want the result of enlightenment, you have to accumulate the causes. This we see in, the real world, right? So then, what then are the causes of enlightenment? Stanza 2. This is where we got to yesterday. Perfect Buddhas, source of all well-being and happiness, arise from accomplishing the excellent teachings, and this depends on knowing the practices, so I will explain the practices of Bodhisattvas. Okay, so that was a review of yesterday, right? Except I talked a little bit more about the proof of Buddha nature. Yeah? But all that is review. Yes? Nice. Okay. So now, this is the main body of the text. Okay? It's labeled number 1. Okay? So, the first 2 verses actually were preliminary. And so, the actual 37 practices of Bodhisattvas start with this. Okay? Alright. So, having gained this rare ship of freedom and fortune, hear, think, and meditate unwaveringly night and day. In order to free yourself and others from the ocean of cyclic existence, this is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So, yesterday we were also talking, remember, I didn't finish this yesterday, but the tradition of giving a commentary from the great Indian monastery, monastic university of Vikramalashila, is to talk about the greatness of the author, the greatness of the teaching, and then how to listen to and explain the teaching. Yeah? So we talked about that yesterday. We talked about the greatness of the author. Then we talked about the greatness of the teaching. And the greatness of the teaching, I was saying that this this text, although it's just 37 stanzas, plus the preliminaries and all that, well, it shares the benefit, the good qualities of this other genre of commentary called the Lamrim, or Stages of the Path to Enlightenment, whereby it arranges the various practices, meditations, and contemplations that we need to engage in order of their practice. Okay? So, and then, since That's one great benefit of this text. Then the other benefit is, since this practice of bodhicitta, or develop altruism, for all living beings, since that's the main, they call it the door to the Mahayana. That's the main practice, right? So, in this day and age, the Kali Yuga, right? The degenerate times, right? Then, you see in the world, right? It's very difficult, There is a lot of conflict. There is a kind of proliferation of, deluded minds, selfishness, and, I'll tell you a story, okay? You see, although one generates the mind of bodhicitta, right? There's various stages of the path. And although one can have uncontrived bodhicitta and one becomes a bodhisattva, then there is a chance that you could kind of abandon your bodhicitta and say, forget sentient beings, And so one famous story in the sutras. So you guys know, then the Buddha himself had two main disciples, Shariputra and Moggallana. Okay? Yes? Okay. He did. So these ones, okay, they actually attained the state of nirvana. Okay? Nirvana as disciples of Buddha. Okay? Now here, we just have to differentiate between the mere nirvana, right, which is liberation from samsara. Samsara being the process of uncontrolled rebirth due to our karma and our klesha, or our disturbing thoughts. Okay? Yes? So, yikes. You guys know about samsara? Actually, we're experts in samsara on one level, because that's the only thing we've ever experienced since beginningless time, right? But the process by which we are bound in samsara, maybe it's worth saying just a little bit now. So, we define samsara as being the process of uncontrolled rebirth. Uncontrolled rebirth means we don't choose where we get reborn, but rather, at the time of our death, what happens is, as our gross consciousnesses kind of absorb and, cease to function, then we realize that we're about to cease. And this grasping, right, to the I. I'm never going to exist, right? That one actually then activates a karmic imprint within our mental continuum that then is able to project us or propel us into a next birth. Okay? So, that way that the mind is grasping to the I, we should say. So the I exists. You exist. No problem. Okay? Everything that, conventionally, in the world, if you ask, I like to say, if you ask your rickshaw driver, right, does, do tables exist? Do I exist? Right? So the exact same answer they would say, we believe. There's a quotation by the great Indian master Chandrakirti, who says, the Buddha did not come to argue with the world. Okay? So all these things, tables, cups, flowers, you, me, beds, cough drops, all the things that the Buddhas, that worldly people, untrained in philosophy, what they accept, we also accept. But wow, I'm already going into ultimate nature. Okay. Anyway, I'm just gonna go with it. It's okay. But let me just give you something to think about, right? So, though, those things that we accept conventionally in the world, yes, it exists. And if we are philosophically unreflective, okay, if we're just satisfied, then we can get along fine in the world, right? But if we're not satisfied, and we then ask a bit more, probe deeper, we run into some problems, right? So, when we talk about the ultimate nature, it is not, whether the cup exists, but rather, how does the cup exist, right? And here, there's a spectrum of possibilities how a cup can exist, right? So one spectrum, one end of the spectrum is, it exists objectively. Objectively means independently, means independent from any other phenomena, like the famous Zen koan, right? If a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. You've heard that before? What do you think? Yes? Okay. Think about that. Kati. Whoa. Huh. You okay? Alright. Alright. That's something to think about for a long time, actually. Okay. But okay, so we would have, if you say, yes, it does make a sound, right? There are sounds independent from people hearing them, right? That's what you're believing. Then you're believing in objective existence. Okay? Now the other end of the spectrum is a kind of, we call it subjective existence. Subjective. So here, the analogy that they use is like a dream. Okay, so in a dream, let's say you dream that you're driving, Ferrari. I don't know. Just say, right? You're driving a Ferrari along the beach, something. Right? Have a great time. It's a convertible. Your hair is blowing. Okay. All right, so then you wake up. Where's the Ferrari? There's no Ferrari anymore, right? So the dream consciousness that perceived the Ferrari, okay, there's no Ferrari out there separate from that dream consciousness apprehending the Ferrari, right? So that would be subjective existence. It means subject is either the mind or you, right? You perceive the Ferrari, but there's no Ferrari out there, right? It's a mere projection of the mind. Right? So we have that spectrum. So how things exist, we're actually mistaken. And this mistake that we kind of, things appear to us, actually, things appear to us to be existing objectively from the side of the object. You know? Anyway, we can think if that's the case or not. But actually, at the time of death, why this is important, right, is, see, that grasping to the I, oh, I'm going to cease to exist, right? That's the one that activates the karma that propels us into another uncontrolled rebirth, right? That is why we're still circling in samsara. Yeah. So then, the process of gaining liberation from samsara is to analyze, oh, this self, how does it appear to me to exist? And is that appearance in accord with reality or not? So that's very tasty. So just then to set that table for you, right? We say, just the grammar of it. We say, oh, my body, my mind. Yeah? We talk like this? So then, if I say my cup, my kantika for throat relief, right? My throat drops, yeah? We have what's called, right, the possessor, me, and the possessions, right? And they're independent, right? Like I can put these down, leave, and these will still be here, right? So now, when we say my body, my mind, right? The body and mind is the possessions, right? The possession of this I, right? So, in a similar way, right? Is there some independence from the possessor and possession when we talk about the body and mind? Can we find something that is the I that owns the body? That is the controller of the body? This we need to think about. Yeah. Because this misapprehension of how the I exists, that's what they call the root of samsara. Right? If you want to be free of suffering, you have to get rid of the causes of suffering. If you want to get rid of the causes of suffering, of the karma and afflictions, the more important one is actually the afflictions. And of all the afflictions, then the most important one is this misapprehension of the self. Right? Why? Because all of the rest flow out from that. Right? You see, we have this false sense of the self, and then the things that we see, benefiting that self, we like, right? And therefore attachment, greed, clinging. The things that we see harming that self, aversion, must, destroy, right? So, yeah. Okay. Why I was talking about all this, see, since this misapprehension of the self is the root cause of samsara, right? If you want liberation from samsara, you get rid of that false sense of self. How you do that is you analyze the way the I exists. Okay? So, if you do that, you attain nirvana, personal liberation. Okay? But the motivation is what? The motivation is you see the faults of samsaric existence. You see the suffering, in the world. You see the suffering of, having to take these uncontrolled rebirths endlessly. And therefore you say, oh, I got to get out of this situation. I need to get out of this. But it's just for yourself, You have the thought, for personal, I'm going to get personal for myself, prati moksha, they say, right? Prati is the self, one. Moksha is liberation, right? So you go for that, right? But that is what we're distinguishing between, the individual liberation and the full enlightenment. The full enlightenment, you see, this is what we're saying, in stanza 10, right? When your mothers, who have loved you since time without beginning, are suffering, what use is your own happiness? Therefore, to free, limitless, living beings, develop all altruistic intention. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Yeah? So, these bodhisattvas, they view their own liberation as not a big deal. Remember we were saying, you're just one, and sentient beings are countless. So, if you attain liberation, okay, it's all right, right? But countless living beings out there who, by the way, have been your mother time and time again, who have, been kind to you, when they're still drowning in the ocean of samsara, what are you going to do? Bye, Mom. So these bodhisattvas, they don't view that as such a big goal to have. In fact, they don't want that. Actually, at a certain point in the path, they could be free of samsara, but they say, no, I'm going to stay, and continue to take rebirth so I can benefit others. So, that's the difference between, mere liberation and full enlightenment. Okay? So now, Shariputra, right? Yeah. What's that? Yes. Yeah, I know where I'm going. So Shariputra, at one point, many lifetimes ago, he was a bodhisattva. He was a new bodhisattva, right? Had this mind of bodhicitta, wanted to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, right? So then what happens? Someone comes to him, right, and says, hey, give me your hand. Give me your hand. No, cut it off. Give it to me. I want your hand. You understand? So Shariputra, in his past life. Okay, I've committed myself to benefiting sentient beings, and this situation, now someone's coming to me with a wish. They want something that I have. So amazing, actually. So I'm going to do it. So he cut off his hand, gave it to the person. But, cut off his right hand, gave it with his left hand. Which, as you guys know in India, big no-no, right? So this person says, what? How dare you give me something with your left hand? Got very angry and stormed off. So, Shariputra is like, you can imagine his reaction, right? WTF, right? And thinking, how can I benefit sentient beings if they're going to be like this? So he got very discouraged. So forget it. I'm just going to get my own personal liberation. Then, this is their problem. You understand? So, see, we'll get to this later, right? But since, especially in this degenerate age, we're going to meet sentient beings like that, right? On a very small level. Remember I was saying yesterday when I was letting people in the line go in front of me, then the security guard comes to scold me? I'm like, come on, I'm benefiting others, right? So in this degenerate age, in this Kali Yuga, Since sentient beings are so, what's the right word? Unruly. So, misbehaving. So selfish, horrible, Then, even though we develop bodhicitta, we might encounter sentient beings, and then it's a big risk that we'll also say, okay, forget them. Right? So then, the Namjong teachings, okay, we were saying, this text, we're talking about the benefits, has all of the teachings laying out the practices in order. And then there's another genre of teachings called Namjong. Namjong, lo is mind, jong is training. Right? And this is the Mahayana training of the mind. Means there's this one teaching where you have bringing everything into the path. You understand? So, means normally we would think, I'm practicing, but then these people criticizing me, it's setting up obstacles, right? People steal from me, it's an obstacle, it's a bad thing. But here, with the Namjong teachings, we see everything. Everything is actually an opportunity to practice, to grow in Dharma. Right? Whether it's a good appearance or a bad appearance, everything can be used in the path. And that's the essence of the Namjong teachings. And this text has all of the we call it pith instructions. Pith, you guys understand? Like in a tree trunk, the very core of it is a pith. It's the most important, the key point. It has all of the pith instructions of mind training. See? You'll see, right? Just as an example. 13. Stanza 13. If someone tries to cut off your head, when you haven't done even the slightest thing wrong, out of compassion, take all his misdeeds upon yourself. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Okay. Anyway.
Sorry, just go into that. Taking on his deeds, what does that mean?
Yeah. Okay. We will get to this later, but just briefly, what it means is, we could think out of compassion. Someone trying to cut off your head is a bad deed, right? So when we think about karma, then the karma of trying to kill someone or cut off their head is very negative, right? So then, to have compassion, thinking, the reason they did that is because they're deluded, they have anger, they have a disturbed mind. So instead of getting angry at them, to develop compassion and say, okay, hate the sin, love the sinner, that kind of thought, and to say, okay, rather than getting angry, I'm going to have compassion for this person who tried to attack me, and may they not experience any negative karmic ripening effect of this negative action, and instead actually may it ripen upon me. Ripen. May I experience. Okay, now, technically speaking, it doesn't happen that way. But this is a way of training the mind, right? To develop compassion in the face of attackers. You understand? Okay, so, sorry, I'm just saying, I'm kind of still in the introduction. But, the way, remember, Vikramala Shila, the greatness of the teacher, greatness of the teachings, then how to listen and explain the teachings. Okay? So here, if you guys continue to study, then you'll hear this many times. But to abandon the 3 faults of a vessel. Okay? A vessel, like a pot. Okay? Yeah? a container.
The vase. Vase.
Huh?
Vase.
Vase. Okay. Yes. Something that holds water. Okay? Right? So when you come to the teachings, okay, the first fault is to be upside down vessel, upside down cup, right? So if your cup is upside down, even you try to pour something in, can't go in. So this would be like you come to the teaching, but you're not paying attention. You know, you're I don't know, texting, whatever. You know, like looking around. Okay, you understand? So he's coming but not paying attention. Okay. Second, although the cup is upright, the leaky cup, the leaky pot, the leaky vase has a hole in it, right? So then even if you pour inside, gradually, after some time, you won't have anything left to drink. Okay. So this would be the equivalent of, although you come to the teaching, then you see, you hear this stuff one time, it's not enough. You have to, again and again, bring these teachings to mind because we're trying to enact a very profound transformation. Okay? So the leaky pot is equivalent to, although you come to the teachings, then, not then putting in effort to, again, study them, meditate on them, reflect on them. And then what's going to happen? Sooner or later, maybe sooner, you're going to forget everything. Right? Then the third is the dirty vase. Right? So, if you have a dirty cup, though you might pour something in, then it's still undrinkable. Right? So this would be coming to the teachings without a pure motivation. So that's why we emphasize at the beginning, trying to have a very positive motivation, that of at least contrived bodhicitta. Think that you're here on this occasion, to benefit others. In order to benefit others, you need to attain the highest state of your potential, that of full enlightenment. And in order to do that, you need to learn about all the various practices that lead to enlightenment. And therefore, I'm going to engage in, listening to the lecture, participating in the meditations and so forth. Yeah? All right. So what is our time like?
11:13. 11:13 right now.
Are they 13?
Yeah.
So then what? But we break at what? 12:30. Huh? 1.
The lunch.
Huh.
12:30.
12:30. Okay. So we have a break?
Yeah, I mean, if you want.
Okay. Yes, let's have a break.
Yeah.